I'm going to completely open up and go over every single problem I've ever faced and how I faced it with adversity in this video. And hopefully, you can take pieces from my experience, implement them back into your life. And given the current state that you're in, whether you're 16, 17, 18, or you're 25 plus and watching this, you can take these little bits of advice, implement them almost immediately into your life, and see drastic change in places that you need the most. If you're new here for the first time, my name's Gareth, and I've dedicated my purpose this year to impacting 1,000 people's lives in a positive way. And I also work one-on-one people in private coaching if they really want to take their life to the next level and rewire their identity in 60 days or less. Anyways, let's get into the list, and you guys can let me know what resonates with you. Number one here was overcoming stage fright, nervousness. Get up in front of random people that don't know you. Memorize your lines. Make sure that you don't make a mistake and cause the rest of the production to come frying to a halt. All those things running through your head while you're up on stage singing a musical with over 300 people staring at you on there. The first time was freaking nerve-wracking. Memorizing line after line after song, months on end just for that opening night performance and that feeling the butterflies rushing in your stomach before you got on stage for the first time. What I will say is when I overcame stage fright, everything in my life got easier. Communicating got easier. Standing up for myself got easier. I swear to God, I carried myself with even a better posture. All because I took on that challenge that was unbeknownst to me and I made it work for my life. And I allowed myself to shift into the person that was no longer afraid of getting up on that stage. If you're somebody right now who's going through an acting phase or going through a theater phase and you're struggling to find your voice, you're struggling to gain that confidence on stage, just tell yourself that it's going to be all right. These people want to see you succeed. They want to see you have a beautiful performance. And these type of mental affirmations are going to help you before you get on stage to go up there, turn off your mind, be fully engaged in that character, and put on a hell of a performance. Number two, worst in the class at math. Man, not proud of this one, and it still messes me up to this day. But apart from simple multiplication, I am rough at math. What I've learned now that I didn't know back then was that is a self-imposed belief that I was giving myself, and I allowed it to stick with me for the remainder of my life up until now. And because the teacher didn't necessarily show me a lot of respect and move me to the back of the class, it caused me to not be able to see the board properly. Suddenly it was blurry. Suddenly I had to get glasses. Next thing you know, I was in math tutoring lessons, still suffering, still struggling, parents unable to help, everybody else doing better than me. It felt like there was a lot of weight on my shoulders and I felt stupid. The thing that got me past that was realizing, well, being good at math isn't the be all end all. Just because I'm not the best student, that doesn't mean I can't succeed in a different aspect of high school, in a different aspect of college, which is where something beautiful like acting emerged from. And the next thing, you find a community, you find a space of people who welcome you and help challenge you and push you to who they believe you're capable of becoming. I was worst in the math class, got passed with just passing grades every single year until eventually I didn't have to take it anymore. And honestly, that was a blessing in disguise because apart from knowing how to do taxes now, don't really have to worry about that stuff on a day-to-day basis. Third one here was being the last one picked for the team quite often. Playing baseball growing up, it was always an incredible team environment, and I'm thankful for all those teams I was on from ages 8 all the way to 18, and even the last couple of years with the boys out in South Delta. You know who you are. But at the same time, when I was younger, I was always the runt. It felt like I was the one who didn't have their growth spurt yet. Once I did have my growth spurt, I was the skinny one that wasn't strong enough. When I was small and chunky, it was, oh, I'm the small chunky one that's not fast at running the bases. I'd always get picked last for dodgeball, floor hockey, basketball, even playing soccer out on the grass field. You name it, I was last. Which at the time really got to me because it made me feel unwanted. When the reality of the situation, if I had to look back now, is there were just other people who were more skilled than me at those things, and that's okay. It's just the container and the capsule that high school and college provides, which is very intense and competitive for a developing mind, where you end up feeling that wave wash over you of, hey, I'm feeling unwanted right now. These people don't want to be my friends, and your thoughts spiral from there. What I've been able to repurpose now is, like I mentioned, these people just were more skilled with you, and that's okay. You're going to have your specialties, they're going to have theirs. That's okay. Let them go do them, and you do you. You lead by example in a different facet of life, and let these people witness your growth in something that makes them think, man, next time we want to pick him first on the team, not last. Because although he's not the best at this sport, he's a great teammate. I chose this role of just becoming the best teammate I possibly could be, and it made people want to play with me even more, which put me on more teams, being picked way above last. Take it with a grain of salt however you'd like, but becoming a better teammate, becoming a better individual first, leads people to want to invest their time more with you. And I'm sure back then that would have led me to getting off the bench a lot sooner. Afraid to talk to girls. That's just the fear of the unknown. When you're a dude growing up, you feel all that pressure of, man, what does she think of me? Does she like me? Does she hate me? She hasn't spoken to me in a while. What does she think of me? What is she saying about me to her friends? All this noise. When in reality, what I've learned is it's less about being afraid to speak to the girls and more about, once again, you live your own life and you lead by example. And in the terms of like a magnet analogy, you attract the right person towards you. Naturally, you'll also attract some of the wrong people towards you. And over time, you learn who's best for you and who's not by experience. But if I had to go back and pat myself on the back and just tell them, hey, it's going to be okay. These people aren't showing you the attention right now. I know you're overthinking what may be going on in their minds, but at the end of the day, they're going to live their life. You live yours, and just live with intention and lead by example. And these girls are going to naturally become more interested in you, especially if you get over the fear of how you look in the mirror. Now, this is specifically not proud of the man looking back in the mirror. And this is out of shape with a high body fat percentage and no visible muscles. I spent most of my life in this stage. In fact, I've probably spent over 85% of my life like this. And it's only in the past 2.5, 3 years where I've really kicked it into gear and received in return for all my hard work, a physical body that I'm proud of, that rewards me on a daily basis, where I have a visible abs and I have visible lean muscle mass. But what you don't see is the thousands and thousands of reps that I've put in over the last 3 years to develop this. Back then, that's why other guys were getting attention before you, because it's a lot of just looks-based to begin. And there's a lot of that going on still to this day. But at the same time, if you're in that phase where you want to lock in and be focused towards your goal, not allowing any of the noise in, and working out and working on yourself is the signal. You just got to step into the gym outside of your comfort zone and face that fear head on and get used to seeing that man looking back at you in the mirror, changing day in, day out for years to come. This is a journey that's never ending. You will constantly be learning, constantly progressing, sometimes facing injuries and setbacks. Don't let them discourage you. Just keep going, and one day, sooner than you think, you will be very proud of the man looking back at you in that mirror. Unable to be vulnerable. This is with my friends, this is with previous partners, with people I'd just be talking to. People were never getting the 100% true me. Because although I was friendly, although I was amicable, although I would get invited to the odd gathering, I wasn't really showing them my true colors. I wasn't being 100% vulnerable and authentic. And that held me back in previous relationships, that held me back in those friendships like I mentioned. And I know looking back, I'm not going to be so hard on myself because a lot of this stuff we're learning by example. But I just imagine if you could go back to that younger you and say, man, I know you're 19 going through this right now, but every single aspect of your bone and body wants to not share that detail. They want you to not open up. Do not be vulnerable. And I wish I could go back and just push in the other direction and say, hey, trust me, you do this, it's going to be very difficult up front, but the reward for this internally and how good it's going to make that other person feel knowing you're equally reciprocating that vulnerability, it's unmatched. And that's one of the keys to maturing. Yes, you learn it over time if nobody shares it with you ahead, but if you can just take advantage of it back in that rightful youth stage, you can get so far ahead of the curve, whether you're a guy or girl at your age. Unresolved anger leading to frustration with others. I notice this the most with video games. It's just a toxic environment sometimes where a lot of men especially are really rude to each other. And don't get me wrong, I've said my fair share of things I wish I could go back and erase. And I just hope to this day it hasn't had that negative effect on others. And it's another reason why when I stepped away from playing games more often, I became a more positive person, because you shift your environment, you shift your identity. And I was no longer surrounded by a bunch of random people that are always attempting to trigger you for the very next time and put you in that elevated state of anger and frustration. Instead, you just started living more intentionally, filling in your time doing other tasks, replacing it with other positive actions, and next thing you're getting back on the right track. Stepping away from that environment allowed me to look inwards, talk to myself, write down in my journal, resolve that anger that had been eating up at me, which caused me to no longer get frustrated with others, and in fact, build my patience up. I turned a net negative into a net positive, and you can do the same. It isn't always going to be easy, but it is simple. Next one here I got was my father being diagnosed with cancer. This is a big one for me, guys, because just picture you're about to turn 18 and you're going into your senior year with your first love. Everything's good. And your dad asks you to go take a walk with him outside at midnight, which is out of the blue. And he puts his hand on your shoulder and he says, "Hey, son, I've just been diagnosed with cancer. It's not looking great, but I'm going to do my best to fight it. And hey, listen up. You got to be strong for mom when I'm here and when I'm gone." Nothing can truly prepare you for that moment growing up. And I'm not hard on myself for how I internally acted out and treated myself for a short period of time after that winter break and for that year moving forward. But at the same time, if I could go back, I would say, man, your superpower, your ability to connect with others, your ability to understand what somebody else is going through, this terrible thing that's been handed and dropped into your lap is the exact superpower you're going to be able to use to bless somebody's life in 6 to 8 years' time. Can you believe that? Shivers to this day just talking about it. Because if I would have known that back then, I would have taken advantage of such a hard, negative situation that I was going through and my family was going through, and I would have turned it into a positive right there and then. But I didn't. I waited, I let it eat me alive, slowly but surely. I kept myself busy, I kept myself focused, I kept myself motivated, but I saw my father decaying in front of me day in and day out until practically 6 years later, over 3 years past the expectancy the doctors gave him, he finally had his last breath, and I saw him for the last time not 48 hours before he passed. If I could just go back to then, and I'd basically face that fear and the reality of losing my father at a young age, I would tell myself that although this is hard, although it's going to be difficult for you, just stick with it and remember your biggest superpower is lying right here next to the most difficult thing you've ever dealt with. Being broken up with, back to feeling unwanted. You grow through it as a child. Oh, I feel wanted again. I feel wanted again. And then somebody breaks up with you. They drop that mic. They walk out of the room. They move on with somebody else. It stings, man. It freaking stings. But what are you going to do? Mope around and let yourself suffer day in and day out, whether they treated you well or treated you poor? Now, don't get me wrong. If you've been in an extremely traumatic or an extremely abusive relationship, there's a lot more to reflect on than what I'm referencing. But just the idea of somebody walking out on you after investing over a year and a half into their life and they just shut that door and move on, it's a hard pill to swallow. And the only way that I got through it was through self-development and keeping myself busy even during the harder times, right? That was after my dad had already been diagnosed. That was after I was really giving acting a shot and trying to make it happen with auditions. There was other things I was keeping myself busy with, but it still stung. If I could go back, I'd pat myself on the back and say, hey, kid, listen up. This is another life lesson. You were meant to learn this now. Take it seriously, take it to heart, but don't beat yourself up. This person and you are no longer meant to be together. It's time to move on. It's going to be all right. And I would have reaffirmed to myself just how beautiful life is going to get, not even 10 years down the line. The other aspect of that is breaking up with someone else. And I put down here the fear of just inflicting that pain onto someone else. At the end of the day, when you feel on the inside and the script has now flipped that you no longer care for this person the same way you once did, you have to truly face those emotions inside of you, even as a man. Like I'm telling you, I know it's hard. I've done it, and I still do it to this day in different ways. But you face that unresolved emotion inside of you that's yearning at you, just telling you, hey, this is not the right person anymore. Don't waste their time. Their life is just as valuable and precious as yours. Don't drag them on if you're no longer feeling it. And you have to address that in a very serious conversation, in a safe space. We're providing as much closure as you can, and you really try to carry them through this harsh, rough scenario with you. And ideally, just do a better job than the way you were treated when you were on that flip side. If you've, in this case, had that luxury now of going through the experience once, make that experience a lighter blow when it's a flipped turntable and it's your turn to make that decision. It never gets easier. It's always going to be hard, but it's also a reminder that the right person is on their way. They're just not here yet. And you two can still have your own beautiful lives just individually, just no longer together. Stomach that. Realize that breaking up with someone else is sometimes the key component you have to take to level up yourself as well to where you want to get to. And it's no harm intended on the other person. But unfortunately, these are the cards that lie in front of us. And last but not least, the one I got on here was changing career paths on a dime. I was really committed to acting there for years on end because it was the one route within life that I was receiving so much positive praise and feedback for. Also constructive criticism, but I really believed I could do it. And the only thing that got in my way was not using COVID as an example, not using Zoom as a reason why I didn't make it, not using anybody else as a reason other than myself to not achieve my goals, is I didn't take it serious enough when it came to showing up and preparing for all of those auditions as if it was your last, right? If it was your last audition, if it was your last opportunity to make that impact, wouldn't you want to give it your all? Wouldn't you want to be prepared, put on that show just for yourself first because you record it on an iPhone and send it to the Dropbox and the casting director takes a look? You would. When you take this analogy into the real life, man, instead it's okay if you do this thing, you give it your best and it doesn't work out and you have to pivot and change your career path, right? If you've truly given it your all, just pivot and keep pushing, but don't take your foot off the gas. Apply the same amount of pressure and speed to the next endeavor that you were applying to the previous one until you strike that gold. Trust me, if you found the winning lottery ticket and it's starting to show signs of, hey, people are resonating with this. Hey, I can really make an impact in this. Hey, I think people really like my content. I think they love my messaging. They're benefiting from my fitness coaching, right? When I personally train them in the gym, they're seeing these insane results, watching themselves change in the mirror. Whatever it is that you find that you're destined to be, you find that it's aligned with your purpose, that it feels like play to you, but looks like so much work to everyone else. That's the thing you put all the chips in and you commit to live a purposeful life on your own terms. If I could go back and pat myself on the back for that final point, it would be, although you're scared of changing the career path, although you're scared of what your family and friends might think of trying this new thing, and they're always looking out for you, but their opinions don't necessarily align with yours, just trust your gut. Trust your gut and your heart, and if it tells you to, you listen to it. Worst thing that can happen is you fall flat on your face, you learn from it, and you get back up and you keep frickin' going. Also, if anything I said resonated with you and you believe that working one-on-one with me can take you to the next level, either in your business, your personal life, and totally rewiring your identity. Click the link below, book a call with me today, and let's chat. See if we're a good fit. Peace, guys.